This is Mac OS Ken.
The EC and Apple are back at it. Lawyers for the DRC say prove it, and a heaping helping of public beta surprise. It is Thursday, the 19th of December, 2024. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSCan. Apple has a bone to pick with the European Union, Meta, or both. A piece from Bloomberg published around 6 p.m. on the West Coast, 9 p.m. on the East Coast, and 3 a.m. in Brussels, HQ for the European Commission. A piece from Bloomberg said the EC had pressed Apple to further open up the iPhone operating system to rivals, prompting the company to complain about requests from Meta platforms that it says will undermine privacy. According to the report, the Commission instructed Apple on Wednesday to rework the iOS operating system. Not a big deal, really. To rework the iOS operating system so that it's more compatible with smartwatches, earbuds, headsets, and other devices from competitors. As part of the push, Bloomberg says regulators published an extensive list of features that it wants Apple to open to third-party developers. They cover technologies ranging from Wi-Fi connections to file transfer features to the beaming of video from devices. As it tends to do, Apple says it guards the features it guards to guard the privacy and security of its users. It also says this is Meta trying to make an end run around the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, by invoking interoperability requirements outlined in the Digital Markets Act, or DMA. In an online post titled, "It's Getting Personal: How Abuse of the DMA's interoperability mandate could expose your private information," Apple says, "As we strive to comply with the DMA, we carefully review each interoperability request we receive. As an example of our concerns, Meta has made 15 requests and counting for potentially far-reaching access to Apple's technology stack that, if granted as sought, would reduce the protections around personal data that our users have come to expect from their devices." If Apple were to have to grant all of these requests, the company continues, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp could enable Meta to read on a user's device all of their messages and emails, see every phone call they make or receive, track every app that they use, scan all of their photos, look at their files and calendar events, log all of their passwords, and more. This is data that Apple itself has chosen not to access in order to provide the strongest possible protection to users. To that, Meta either takes umbrage or feigns it. A Meta spokesperson was quoted in the piece saying, "What Apple is actually saying is they don't believe in interoperability. Every time Apple is called out for its anti-competitive behavior, they defend themselves on privacy grounds that have no basis in reality." Almost as if they expected that, Apple's statement points out that the GDPR set a strong set of privacy rules for all companies to comply with. The DMA was not intended to provide a way around the rules, but the end result could be that companies like Meta, which has been fined by regulators time and again for privacy violations, gains unfettered access to users' devices and their most personal data. What happens next? Consultation. The post from the European Commission says it is consulting interested third parties on these measures, and in particular on their effectiveness, completeness, feasibility, and implementation timelines. These measures are preliminary and might be adjusted, subject to feedback from third parties and Apple, as well as further investigative steps. The Democratic Republic of Congo has a message for Apple. Prove it. I told you yesterday of the DRC suing Apple over its alleged use of conflict minerals from their country. It's not that Apple is buying direct. rather accusations made in suits brought in Belgium and France, have Apple using certifications from a seemingly shady organization, one that is happy to say the minerals Apple's buying are clean as a whistle. The DRC says they are not, and Apple knows it. I also told you of a statement Apple gave Reuters on Tuesday that had the company saying that it's informed its suppliers that their smelters and refiners must stop buying tin, tantalum, tungsten, and gold from Congo and Rwanda as conflict in the region has escalated. Prove it, says the DRC. A piece on Wednesday from Reuters had lawyers representing the country welcoming Apple's assertion with satisfaction and caution. The piece quotes the lawyers as saying, Apple's statements about changes to its supply chain will have to be verified on the ground with facts and figures to support them. Apple's statements do not change the past and the crimes that are alleged to have been committed. That was followed by indications from the lawyers that charges filed in Belgium and France still have to be weighed by French and Belgian courts. Daiwa Capital Markets has raised its price target on Apple shares. If you're like me, you don't know who Daiwa Capital Markets are. Digging a tiny bit online, they're part of the firm Daiwa Securities Group. The former started under a different name in 1902, the latter in 1943, so the latter must have acquired the former at some point. Philip Elmer DeWitt over at Apple 3.0 knows of Daiwa Capital Markets, as well as the guy who covers Apple for the firm, Louis Moscosia. And now we have some idea why we might care about their thoughts on Apple shares. The site Futurebull, which I have also never heard of, posted a machine translation of the Daiwa note, or maybe a machine translation of a report on that note. Let me read you the first paragraph. Daiwa published a report indicating that Apple's strength lies in its ecosystem, which includes smartphones, computers, watches, and various services. Over the past 5 to 10 years, the iPhone has undergone several upgrade cycles, and the firm estimates that another significant upgrade cycle is currently underway: AI and Apple Intelligence. Machine translation, you say? The Daiwa analysts apparently think what a lot of other Apple watchers have expressed, a belief that a multi-year AI upgrade cycle will begin, likely starting with the release of iPhone 17 next fall. This as Apple Intelligence turns up in more countries and starts doing stuff for which people are willing to upgrade. Futurebull says Daiwa holds a positive view on Apple. Apple 3.0 is a bit more specific. They say the firm has an outperform rating on Apple shares, and that the firm has raised their price target on the shares from $255 to $275. I had said earlier this week that I would be surprised if the world got a new round of public OS betas from Apple before the end of the year. I had also said that I had been surprised before. Guess what I was yesterday? According to a piece from Mac Rumors, Apple on Wednesday seeded the first public betas of iOS and iPadOS 18.3, macOS Sequoia 15.3, watchOS 11.3, and tvOS 18.3. About the only new thing we know there is to play with are Genmoji for macOS. While there are hints in code that Robo Vacuum support is on the way for the Home app, so far, your wish is no kind of command for the automated sucker. If you're already in the public testing program, hop to. If you would like to be, info is available at beta.apple.com. Things are moving fast for Apple's lost luggage solution. Last week, Apple said that its share item location was ready to go with 2 airlines, Air Canada and United. Earlier this week, Apple Senior VP of Marketing Greg Joswick said a third airline, Delta, was in the mix. Now a piece from Mac Rumors says the number of participating airlines is up to 14. though they only list 13. Among the ones they do list, the always dirty-sounding Aer Lingus. Talk about your Mile High Club, huh? Air Canada, Air New Zealand, Australian Airlines, British Airways, Brussels Airlines, Delta, Eurowings, Iberia Airlines, Lufthansa, Swiss International Airlines, Turkish Airlines, and United. And finally today, ask to ask, and ye shall receive. I told you earlier this week that the video social media platform TikTok had asked the U.S. Supreme Court to temporarily block the law that would force parent company ByteDance to sell the service. Now it sounds like the court will just hear arguments on the law instead. According to a piece from TechCrunch, on the 10th of January, the Supreme Court justices will hear arguments about whether the sell or ban law violates the First Amendment. It's unknown how quickly the court will come to a decision. Unless they turn the decision around really quickly, though, the sell or ban date of the 19th of January seems likely to be postponed. Or not. I've been surprised before. macOS Ken, brought to you by me, and supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.